Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 7th day of October, 2024. I hope you had a good weekend. Month of October's in full swing, so we have, let's see, I've got the rune here. Before I tell you what it is, though, we've got Jupiter going retrograde on Wednesday, and Pluto is stationing direct on Friday, so you'll be reflecting on Jupiter's expansive presence in your life and how you manifest things that way. But beginning today with, we're going to begin with Alyi's. Now, Alyi's is the 15th rune of the Elder Futhark, so it has a 6 numerology. So empathy and guidance and assistance, shared path. But Alyi's is about, its keyword is the elk. It kind of looks like the elk antlers there. It also could be the elk sedge, which would be all the in the swampy marshlands. You've got all the sedge grasses that come up and protect the elk and the moose and all that while they're out there foraging from being seen. And so essentially it's a protection rune. It's the bridge between physical and astral realms. You can look at the astral realms being up here, drawing in fire, air, and water, and then earth down below. You can look at it that way. It represents higher consciousness and divinity within. But mostly it reminds me of when you raise your arms in supplication to the goddess during the full moon and you're drawing down moon energies. You can do that anytime, though, to draw down goddess presence into your life. But raising your arms to the moon is reminds me of what Alyi's is. And so in that regard, you really are that conduit between the astral realm and the earth energies below. So it's truly an as above, so below rune. Let's take a look at the Geomancy runes to get the below side of things here, or the earthly side. Oh, do we have Populus? Oh, we do. Okay. Well, now we can look at this a couple different ways with respect to Alyi's here, but Populus is the complement of Vaya, whereas Vaya is just single dots all the way down. You have Populus as 2. So whereas Vaya would be an intentionally set path or journey or way, Populus would be following along with the crowd. And so sometimes that gets you into trouble, but when you're drawing down higher energies with Alyi's, drawing down higher awareness, then in a sense you're bringing the collective consciousness into physical reality, and understanding that even though we appear separate from one another, and that's just on the human side of things, you're still talking about creation energy that creates everything else as well. And so you're looking at the collective consciousness brought into physical reality, essentially, I think, when you pair these two together today. And so this, we'll see what the cards have to say, but this could be another one of those, at least 2 cards are major arcana cards, 2 of the 3, maybe all 3. Sometimes that happens. And whenever you see the major arcana cards in a reading, you're talking soul archetype cards. And so we'll see what the soul has to say in terms of the cards, the details of the reading. It may not. It may all be minor arcana cards, but it'd be interesting to see if it does happen that way. We've been having that lately. We had the Fool and the Lovers last Thursday, and we had Death and the Magician on Monday of last week. So we've had that happen quite a bit of late, where you have more than one major card, or at least one. Well, there's Death, and there's the Star. So anyway, so we're going to have Death, the card of transformation, and the Star, which is about essentially hopes and wishes and wishing upon a star, that expression. Balance and balancing earth energies with water energies in terms of elemental energies there. And then we also have the 5 of Wands. So let's go ahead and do where's my calculator? There it is. Let's go ahead and do the numerology for the whole reading. We've got, again, 15 for Alyi's. We have 13 for the card of Death. We have a 5, and we have a 17. Oh, well, that's not what it is. I didn't clear it. Came out to 192. It's like, no. So 15 plus 13 plus 5 plus 17 is 50. So we have a 5 numerology then for today. Let me go ahead and write that down here in case I forget. So something has changed, and maybe what's changed in your awareness after maybe having a spirited discussion here with the 5 of in the 5 of Wands. Something's changed about your perception, and maybe you understand the collective nature of self a little more today in whatever's happening for you today. If you look at this, you see 5 young men basically voicing their opinions, if you will. You have it looks like they are about to strike one another, but if you look really closely, nobody's hitting anyone. So since Wands is about the fire element and creativity, maybe they're just having a creative discussion here where everyone's offering their ideas and how they see things, and nobody's really listening to one another or anything, but it's still being there's a sense of diversity there, diversity of thought or diversity of creativity. The fire element is about, again, creativity, new opportunities, the spark of life. And so all of this stuff is coming to the surface for them, and they're expressing themselves, but I don't know that they're necessarily listening to one another, but you never know. But something's changed, and maybe there was going to be an argument or a fight break out, but now they just realize that, we can all have our own perspectives and opinions and creative offerings, if you will. And that's okay. And so maybe that's the shift into where you realize that even if you look at it in terms of collaboration with populace here, just setting aside the ego raises the vibration and draws down higher awareness into your perceptions, and understanding that you're not alone here, that there are others around you, and we all have to live in this diverse world that we all live in and occupy, and understanding that we all can move in the same direction while still having differences of opinion or differences of creative input, if you will. It doesn't mean that we can't go in the same direction, and maybe there's something that happens today that makes you realize that. Here with the Death card, you see Death riding through on his white horse in his black battle attire. The visor's up, though, showing his skeleton figure there. The king's dead on the ground. You see over here, you see a blue river there, or creek with, or not a creek, it would be a river, with a boat there. Maybe it's the ferryman coming to take the king's soul into the, across the veil here. And you have the queen, she's over here on the side, she's bereft, she's crying. You have the priest giving last rites. But what you see in the distance over here is a sense of balance. You see 2 towers. Anytime you see anything that's dual in the tarot, you're looking at either the middle path or you're looking at a sense of balance. But even with the middle path, the sense of balance is implied. And then you see, but what you also see is the sun rising between them. So there's a new chance to rebalance things and to start over fresh, basically. Death is about change and would align well with the 5 numerology for the reading. It's also about opportunity and transition and rebirth and transformation. So again, there could be something through higher awareness that you understand the collective aspect of self with populace, and you're ready to collaborate with others or go along a same shared path. With the star, now again, it's hopes and wishes. The 17th card of the major arcana, you're looking at an 8 numerology. So that sometimes takes a lot of inner strength to be able to do the kind of transformation that an inspiration that the star offers here. But both, you see transformation throughout this entire reading today, with death and with the star. It's just with the star, you're looking at joy and optimism and dreams and manifesting your own insight, and inspiration, and being that type of force in the lives of others. And so as you go along the path with Populus, maybe you're that inspiring force that's behind that type of collaborative energy today. Maybe you're the one that makes the realization today for others, and they just want to come along with you because they see the higher power that involves, and the sense of higher joy, and unity and diversity that implies. With death, the 13th card, again, you can leave that at 13. I kind of like to. I kind of look at that as the master witch number. But then I was born on the 13th, so 13 sort of figures prominently in a lot of things in my life. But you can also reduce it to 4, and so that's a different type of structure. So with death, with the idea of transformation and rebirth along with the star, it's a different type of structure that you have, a different type of foundation, instead of always being at loggerheads with other people or feeling like you're on a separate path from everybody else. And I think that we're all experiencing that right now, two really defined paths. You could look at it as good versus evil, or love versus hate. They're that extreme. And so having higher awareness come in today and tell you, you know what, that's an illusion. It's always been an illusion. It's just a choice. We can choose to come together. Again, the creative differences can still exist, but here, no one's hitting one another, so there's no arguments or fights breaking out. It's just they have a lot of energy about them, about their creative offerings to whatever the situation is. And again, that may be a change where we stop arguing with one another and just say, well, I think this way about that, and the other says, well, that's cool, I think this way, but let's all go have a meal. Let's go have lunch. So it's the idea that you can express how you feel about things without having to worry about anybody trying to threaten you over it, and using that type of higher vibratory attitude. You find it easier then to be with other people that are maybe a little bit more different than you, than maybe you might have otherwise wanted to hang out with. Respecting the individual differences, respecting people's perspective, respecting the right to disagree, and not be enemies as a result. It seems like that's the message of the reading today. Now, I admit that again, especially in this country, we're not there yet. And there's been so much, and it keeps going, right? When you have one path that seems to be so focused on lying and deception, and the other's just trying to get along, and move forward in life, and trying to tell the truth about things. And, because living in truth is a whole lot better than living in lies. There's no structure, there's no foundation when you live in lies. It's almost like the earth moves constantly under your feet because nobody knows what the real truth is. Well, you've got one side of the coin that seems to want to live in truth, and the other that wants to live in deception and lies. And there doesn't seem to be any way to bring those 2 points together. And that's the problem here. We're kind of in between all of that. And for some that are kind of undecided about that. And so maybe that's who this reading is for, is people that aren't real sure of where they belong. And the fact is in the soul world, in the soul level of things, we're all one. And whatever separation and differences that appear here in physical reality, that's just an illusion. And we can change our mind at any time. And again, with the 5 numerology, 5's about change. It's about protection, freedom versus restriction. You've got one side that wants to restrict a woman's right to choose. The Supreme Court just reinforced that today in the I think the first ruling of their new SCOTUS season. It's always the first Monday in October when SCOTUS starts their new season, and that's today. And they've decided that women can be sacrificed, evidently, in the state of Texas. So you see where where there's a restrictive type of energy that is so harmful that they don't care about the lives of women. We're expendable. It's like, well, no, we're not, no, we're not. And so that change has to happen. And I think uh, just even astrologically, you're seeing this happen, where it's almost like the portal is opening for higher awareness to come through and remind us of who we are and who we are to one another, and to reject out of hand this restrictive type of religiosity based choices that are happening right now, that are impacting people in a way that is just unfair and not sustainable, right? It's more about experiencing the death of something versus the hopes and wishes and manifesting joy and happiness of the situation. But either way, the transformation needs to take place. And it begins with each one of us, and with all yous drawing in higher awareness into everything you think, and letting that be your guide, letting that be your North Star. That's the real choice we have to make. Are we going to do that, or are we going to wallow in the muck of the ego? And it just seems like those are the two paths that exist here. And to bring this back together into the populace energy, we have to remember who we are and who we are to one another. And I know that's a tough thing to do, because everybody feels justified, and even the people that are lying, well, I'm going to lie so I get the attention. No, no. And they harm people in the process when they do that. So, and we see expressions of that all around now. So we have to allow the transformation to take place, and let that transformation be higher awareness based, to draw down the divine goddess into our lives, our everyday lives, to where we're thinking about one another in a higher vibratory state, instead of, what can I do to that person because they disagree with me? Again, through disparate voices, truth emerges, and if we don't have those discussions in a calm and measured way, how do we get through all of it? It can't be about us versus them, and yet that's what's being manifested right now. And in a sense, some of it is so ridiculous, it's almost like it's the last vestiges of that. It's like the last vestiges of patriarchy. All of the nastiness of that is being revealed in such a big way that it's hard to turn away from it now and make the change necessary, so that we can come together in some kind of unified acceptance of how we're going to basically fundamentally live, and the rights that each one of us should have to make the decisions that we want to make. And so again, we need that transformation, and have that transformation move into the manifestation of our hopes and wishes and dreams, so that we manifest joy and harmony and love together, instead of all of this hate nonsense that's happening. Because otherwise I don't know how we come together on a shared path. Again, you can think whatever you want, have whatever creative solutions you want to have, but at the same time, don't do it and don't express it in a way that wants to harm other people in the process for disagreeing with you. And that's how I see the 5. I think that, it's really indicating change that is transformative here, with bookended by the death card and the star card, where it's really, they've stopped fighting and just expressing themselves now in a way that it can all be thrown out on the table and looked at in a way that's objective, and to see what direction do we want to go, and have everybody present their ideas, but again, once they've been presented, now it's fair game to talk about it, the pros and cons of everything, and to try to come to some determination that seems to be to elevate people in a direction together, with populace, than we would have been before. So again, I think that we're moving in that direction as a society and maybe as the world. It's just that some of the negativity is so big and so bad and so harsh that it's hard to not look at it and feel like everything is hopeless. But with the star card and the death card, it's saying, no, this is the time to transform all of that so that we do manifest our hopes and dreams and bring that type of higher balance into our interactions with one another and into our awareness, and go from that standpoint. It proceed along the path of populace, if you will, from that higher level of awareness, from that type of standpoint. So, and again, I think that a lot of the readings of late have been sort of headed in that direction, where we're having to make choices about who we are and who we are to one another, and what path are we going to follow here. Because the negative path can dissolve once everybody changes their heart and changes their mindset and changes their perception. You can't help but want to come together with people when you do that, and see things from a different, from a perspective that's more joyful and honorable and uplifting and inspirational, instead of believing the lies and the manipulation and the deception of a few that seem to have some hold over that side of the coin, if you will, or that path or that timeline, however you want to see that. A lot of terms for it these days, aren't there? And so, again, I think that we're in a time of change, and we need to rise up and draw down, spirit into our lives in a way that really leads us in a better direction. So that may happen for some of you today, or maybe all of you today. There may be something that happens today that gets you thinking about that, and I hope it does. I hope that eventually, we'll be talking about other mundane things instead of these big ideas of who we are and who we are to one another. Because really, when you look out and you see everybody around you, you're just looking at the other side of self. That's all you're looking at. You're populating your experiences, and everyone's doing that. All souls here are doing that, and it all just gets sort of mishmashed together, into the world in which we live. And at some point, we all need to come together in some level of unity, at least to begin there, and instead of trying to mop up all of the devastation of the lies and what the lies have done and the deception has done and the manipulation of people has done, because that's going to take some time. But again, the truth is coming out, and we can't be afraid to look at it and see it for what it is, and then reject the nonsense out of hand and move into a different direction with one another. So anyhow, that's it for a Monday. No big thing. So thanks for watching. Check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. The forecast for the week is out. The correspondences for Work and Magic is out. I did a herb magic thing. It's not on chickweed. What's it on? Clary sage. Oh yes, clary sage. Clary sage is wonderful stuff. You can get it in essential oil form, and I always put it in the little cauldron over here, so it emits, the energy of clear sight. And so anyway, that's the herb magic post for this week, is on clary sage. Clary sage is a really interesting plant to grow. It has really strange series of flowers that spike up on a stem. And I guess you can get it in different colors, but I have the flowers are like a kind of a lavenderish white with lavender. There's two colors on the flowers, and they're interesting to look at. They're beautiful, and I love the essential oil. It smells really good. But anyway, that's on the herb magic post on the blog, and then also the astrological overview is out as well. This stuff I post over on Patreon, Substack, and Medium as well, if you like reading stuff over there. But do check out the blog. I'd really appreciate it. If you forget the web address, click on more below the video, and a little window will open, and it's right there at the top. And then the social media sites I'm on are way down at the bottom. So if you're into that sort of thing. But anyhow, thanks again for watching. Click subscribe if you haven't, and come back on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.